This is going to be part 10 of our FZR restoration. We're working on it pretty much every day, and it's moving right along. Now, my daily schedule gives me about a 4-hour window every day that I'm not babysitting or doing something that I can't be in the shop. So I get a 4-hour window. I can either go for a 4-hour ride, or I have a 4-hour window to work on motorcycles. Now, the reason I mention that is I try to set my life up and try to set up the time I spend in the shop from when I had my own business working out of the house. Try to set up my time that I work very efficiently. And as I've done most of these restorations in what would normally be, I think most people would consider a very efficient use of time and an efficient use of money. So this year our project, the FZR, in the last couple of days I've had the fender off, some of the fairing parts, and what I'm trying to do is make a sequence list now. Let me share how I do this. Maybe it'll work for you. If it doesn't, didn't cost you any money. I always try to work the day before and figure out what is it that I want to do the next day. And in this case, we started with the seat, we started with the windshield, and fitting up this top fairing part. Now, so doing it in the correct sequence will just save a lot of time and make for a more efficient job. Now, some of this I really have learned the hard way, including this windshield that has been an ongoing problem with this bike. We've cracked the windshield, fixed the windshield, made new windshields, replaced it, so I was determined before I even started this job, I wanted to have that part of it in the bank, and I think we've already done that on previous videos. But the next step on this is going to be taking this top piece of the fairing off, which we're going to replace with a new piece. But what's going to happen, it's going to have to fit. Now the bottom pieces, I'm not concerned with the tank at all. We'll leave that for the very end. These bottom pieces are on the factory mounts that come with the motorcycle. They line up pretty well. But the top piece on this bike really never lined up the way it should, and the bolts would always get loose and we'd have other problems. So I'm going to be making some modifications to that. But the next step on this is going to be that I want to take the top fairing off and replace it with the part that's going to go on there. I'm not really going to be able to do that today because I don't have enough time, and that's a separate issue. But because it's turned out to be a bright sunny day, I do have enough time to get the parts that have been sitting in primer overnight from the last video, get them painted white today. So that was my goal today. Now this is another issue I have to start thinking about for this restoration. This part that goes in the middle has never really lined up with the fairing. I don't know why. Whether there's a piece missing or there's something wrong with it, I don't know. But I've tried to figure out a way that I can make this better. See, because the gap is basically on both sides too. So that's one of the things I wanted to think about. And what I also did in the course of today, I wound up making up a list, like a sequence list, and I always say sequencing is important. I made a list of the sequence of things that I want to do in the next couple of days and how I want to do them. And I think that'll work to my advantage. Now, and I always remember when I bought the bike, I really got it was very funny. If I could go back in time and take a look at, I didn't take a lot of photos back then, but I got 2 sets of bodywork with the bike, and both of them had been crashed. So I mixed and matched and tried to make do with what I had, but neither one of these are factory parts. They're all aftermarket parts. So getting the alignment, and as I look down at the pieces, this is one of the things that aggravated me about it all along. The parts never really lined up, and I'm going to make a little bit more effort this time at getting everything to line up. I also had to make some brackets up here to stiffen this up. The original mount on this bike, it wasn't, I don't think it was, there may be a part that was missing or something, because what happened, I always had a vibration issue with the windshield, and I made these 2 extra pieces. That cured the problem, but now I want to make sure when I mount this up that the mounts are all as solid and nice and tight, and that they're not going to have any vibration issues. So my point being is, it's in my personal opinion, it's worth before every shop day or every work day that I'm doing on a restoration, I like to plan out and make a little list of what I think I'm going to try to do in the next couple days and in the sequence I want to do it. So back in the shop, and knowing that I have a limited amount of time today, I thought the one thing that would be really nice, because it's a very sunny, nice day, I can get these parts that need to be painted white ready. But I really won't have time to fit the fairing. That'll be for the next, maybe next or even time after that. And I'm not going to paint these because they're going to get an epoxy joint down onto this area here. And there's no point painting them. I'm going to have to resand them and reprime them and repaint them. So, but today, this would be a good thing if I can get these three guys done. I'll be one step further down the road on this restoration. And this is just a typical list that I work off, and I can always juggle it around, but I always try to do it methodically and in sequence. I call that sequencing. Now this is totally unrelated to the FZR, but it's a good tip. I've had Ryobi electric tools, weed whackers and hedge cutters and things for many years. What I've noticed is the batteries in the very beginning, they didn't seem to last as long as I thought they should. But one of the ways I made them last a little bit longer is whenever it's any chance, or is right now, that we can go below freezing at night, I bring them into the cellar. In fact, I bring all the extra batteries that I have for the motorcycle and for testing and everything. Leave it in the cellar. These batteries don't seem to like freezing. And I'm not sure what I gain by that, but the times I've been doing it, the batteries seem to last a lot longer. And because we had an incredible, beautiful summer, did a lot of riding, I have a bunch of tires to replace. I've got all the new tires in. And again, this is what I call sequencing. There'll be a time on this restoration when I need to wait for paint to dry or some other reason, the weather's holding me up, and then I'll do tires. That really did come out great. I am amazed because it was only a couple of days ago and these parts were all cracked and broken and everything, and everybody that has ever seen them. I mean, this bike was due for a re-restoration maybe last year, or refreshing or whatever you want to call it, but we're going to get it done now. Let me go mix up some paint. It looks like it'll be a great day to do some painting. Now what I'll try to do is get 3 coats about 20 minutes apart. This paint seems to dry in about 20 minutes. I want these parts to have a nice coat of white on them because I don't know yet exactly where the white striping is going to go. And as soon as we start painting, the wind starts blowing. It was beautiful up until about 10 minutes ago. But these parts really are going to need 3 coats of white. Now, as I said before, what will happen with these parts, they're going to have a better finish than Yamaha ever put on a motorcycle. When I'm done, they will. And that's a challenge. Not only that, they're already pre-reinforced, so they're not going to crack a year into service, and that's the main thing. But all of this stuff takes time, takes a little patience, and we'll get the 3 coats of white on this, and we're in great shape today. 3 coats are on and drying up beautifully. And it's just one more step forward on getting this guy. Next step we're going to need a dedicated day to pull that fairing off, fit up the bolts. I've got my sequencing list ready. I hate to stop and start in the middle of a day, so I'm going to start a fresh day. And I hope by the end of the day we'll have that other fairing fit up. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.